Okay, welcome everyone. January 21st, Banner Blitz. But first, we'll do a little quick lecture, or presentation actually, because we're always learning, on our favorite opening, the Norwegian Rat. But before we do that, we have to make sure that everyone can see everything properly. Get rid of that. Okay, looks like the board is centered. Okay, so last week we took a look at a couple of games in the Norwegian Rat Gambit. So today we have another game from my oldest student, Sailor, and here he's playing Triestino 14. Now what's interesting, Triestino 14 and Sailor had played the same variation back in like October. So now they play again, game 15 on ICC. And you can see Black plays a very provocative knight to f6. And here you would think kind of Black would play knight d5. And that would be kind of a version of an Alyekin's defense. But in the Norwegian Rat, the very provocative knight to h5. Now, as we mentioned last week, in the early days, this is known as like maybe the North Sea variation. And bishop e2. White creates a queen plus bishop battery, lines up on the h5 knight, threatens to capture a pawn. And so in the early days, in the 80s, Black would play knight back to g7. And White would build up a big center and usually crush Black. So the opening didn't really take off. But somewhere around 2006-07, Aronian started playing d6 and said, hey, you want the pawn on h5? Take it, take it. And so Triestino
incoming
what
challenge.
they played before. He takes, and collects a pawn. Now, there's often the case in chess, pluses and minuses. Yes, White won a pawn, but Black has
Server announcement
and the half-open g-file. Let's see how that, and White's also brought his queen out early. So the key to this is you play pawn takes pawn. Now, of course, queen takes pawn, rook g8, that's one way to go. And in the video series, we discussed a game that Magnus Carlsen had along those lines, where he played Black, and he opined that, basically he thought Black was okay. Now, Triestino plays the alternative recapture, pawn takes. Well, knight to c6, logical developing move, and knight to f3, more protection on the pawn. But now the next move is very, very important, and a little bit unexpected. Queen to d7. How do you sacrifice a pawn and then just play a non-aggressive move like queen to d7? But it's strategically motivated. The point is that you actually want to play the queen out to f5 or to g4, trade the queen. Now, why would you trade the queens? Well, once you trade the queens, Black will have pressure on the pawns on c2 and e5. And secondly, once you trade the queens, the Black bishop pair can really come into its own. So it's a little bit, not a little bit, it's like actually very counterintuitive that you would look to trade queens after your pawn down. But if you think about the Benko Gambit, another opening where Black sacrifices a pawn in the opening, and then again, counterintuitive there, Black often looks to exchange queens because in that opening, a kingside attack is White's best chance. Queens off the board, much less chance of a kingside attack. So let's see how this plays out. So, knight to c3. Good logical developing move. Bam! Queen to g4. Pretty much forcing a trade of queens. But after queen takes, now the bishop comes out. Now the bishop contemplates chopping off the knight on f3. After bishop f4, adding more protection, you don't rush to capture on f3. Bishop takes, pawn takes, knight to d4. Yes, that forks two pawns, but after White castles queenside, gives back the pawn. When you play knight takes on f3, knight to b5 or knight to d5, White has a humongous attack. But instead, you don't worry about being a pawn down. You focus on mobilization. Now, in this game, rook to d1. In the previous game, after castles, Triestino had played knight to d2. And then on rook g8, played f3. But that did not work out well for him because after bishop f5, the pawn on c2 was under attack. The rook was attacking the pawn on g2, and when white castled, the rook invaded on g2, and black was just humongously better because he had monster bishops. His rook was already penetrating on the 7th, and he'd recovered his pawn. And so, in fact, that game is also in the video, along with the aforementioned Magnus Carlsen game. This time, Triestino looks to improve and plays rook to d1. Well, bishop to g7. Now again, you can see black has possibilities. Bishop takes knight, followed by capturing on e5, recouping his pawn. So let's see what happens. White castles. What can we say about white castles?
Challenge.
Well, white castles is actually a very greasy, low-quality hamburger that's produced like places like New Jersey. But some people get addicted to such unhealthy food. But as pertains to chess, yes, white castle's kingside. Okay. Anyway, that was a bad non-sequitur bit of humor. So what happens now? Someone keeps challenging me to 1-0. But anyway, you chop the knight. Okay, pawn takes. Now, you only give up your bishop pair if you're getting something in return. In this case, you're recovering your pawn. You now have the better pawn structure. We can see white has doubled f-pawns. Bishop takes, and rook over. Well, to white's credit, he is centralized. He has gotten his king fairly safe, but very nice move here by black from a practical point of view.
Check.
Now, the point of the check is you make white decide. Does he go to f1 and possibly lose the h2 pawn? Yeah, he would get the e7 pawn back, so that's one decision. Or
server announcement.
he goes to the corner. Well, it turns out computer analysis later shows king to f1 was slightly better way to go, but black in any case has a pretty comfortable advantage. So now, Saylor, who by the way is 76 years old, God bless him, we should all be actively playing chess and running up and down the lighthouse stairs and doing such things at that age. Anyway, he chops the knight. Now again, you only give up the second bishop if you're getting something in return. Well, what's he getting? He now has a double rook endgame where every single white pawn is either isolated or doubled. Okay? So, this is a great example of constantly transforming one type of advantage for another. Okay? So now he trades another pair
challenge.
So he trades a pair of rooks. We'll be accepting challenges right after this 10 to 12 minute presentation or so. Okay, so anyway, thank you, Venom. We'll be with you in a little bit. So, rook takes. Now you have a single rook in game. And as we mentioned, definitely black has the better pawn structure. What else? Well, the black rook on the g file does cut the white king off. And the black king is a little better placed, closer to the action. So small cumulative advantages. No single one would be considered decisive, but as we said, cumulative advantages, when you add them all up, black has pretty good winning chances. Now, of course, in something similar to this, there's a very famous rook endgame, Master Cohn, C-O-H-N, versus Rubinstein, where in a position like this, he actually traded the rooks, and then the black king just walked in and, zigzagged him. Well, here, Saylor very appropriately activates his rook. Oh, and by the way, that's another small advantage, is that black's on move. So that means when it comes to attacking various pawns, black has first go at it. So you can see the pawn on c3 is under attack. If that one falls, the pawns on c2 and f3 are under pressure. So, c4. But now, the problem when you have so many weaknesses is it can be very hard to defend them all. So white does the best he can here. He says, look, the a2 pawn's a goner. I can't just sit back and let him grab all my pawns. I have to go counterattack. But now, takes on a2. And again, when we talked about our cumulative advantages, yeah, by going first here, we can see black definitely is leading the way. So rook takes h7. Now rook takes on c2. Rook takes on f7. But here, again, our king steps up. By guarding the c7 pawn, we keep the doubled f pawns from becoming passers. Plus, in a quickie, our king might bop over, stop that h pawn, or come up to support our pawns. Well, black protects his f2 pawn, but now it's off to the races. But first, collect the pawn on c4. Okay. Now, by the way, speaking of rook in games, a few years back, I did a 13-volume series for ICC. It's available at the ICC store on Rook in Games. The first 2 volumes, I think they're about 35 minutes, but they basically cover all the tactics that you need in a Rook in game. Everything from skewer, check and skewer, building a bridge, etc., etc. So, well, here, just a very quick visual tells you black's obviously got to be much better, if not winning, because he's got 3 connected passed pawns on the queen side, and black has 1 measly passed h-pawn. That is, white has 1 measly passed h-pawn. So let's see what happens. How does it play out? You still got to execute. King up, and the a-pawn is off to the races. Well, h-pawn off to the races. A-pawn going. But now, white does a smart thing. He gets his rook behind the passed pawn. And here, I think probably the only move that I felt like Saylor did not play precisely in this game. He played, in a rush, pawn to a3. What he should have done is he should have used the build a bridge technique. He should have played rook back to c6, h5, a3. Then, on rook a8, he can build a bridge with rook a6, exclamation point. And it's game, set, match, because after the trade, the black pawn will promote first. So rook c6 would have saved a bit of trouble. But you know how it is. Once you feel like you're winning, you're in a rush, and he played pawn to a3. Well, white seized the moment, got the rook behind the passed pawn. Fortunately for black, since he still has more passed pawns, it wasn't, too serious. He just shoved the next one. One man down, another man steps up. Okay, so now he could play rook b3, but he played rook back. But this time, Saylor saw the build a bridge technique, and he goes rook back. Instead, if he tries to go rook behind, you have rook to b6, and then it's very nice. So, as it was, the rook went back. But now, rook behind the passed pawn. This time, Saylor gets it right and nails it. This pawn tries to shove, this pawn runs up, rook slides over, and as we know, rooks are the worst blockaders. The worst. So after c5, white brings the king up. But let's say white had played pawn to h6. No problem. You play pawn to c4, what I like to call connecting the dots. When that pawn goes to h7, you go rook over to h6. You collect it. You still got your queenside pawns connected. No problem. Easy peasy. So in the game, after king g4, c4, I think this is the point where white tossed in the towel. Of course, the evaluation is something ridiculous like +8 or +9 because the white rook is simply going to be overpowered. And even if black has to give up his rook for the passed h-pawn, by that time his king will be up to b4 and his 2 pawns will be running the rook over. So anyway, a very nice game in what we call the gambit accepted, where white plays bishop takes, pawn takes, and queen takes. And this seems like it offers black pretty good counterplay. Now, we have one more game that we were going to share with you on the Norwegian Rat. Let's take a look. So we got to go to View. We go to My Profile. That gives you a list of your games, and then you can have your own game library, which holds up to 400 games. So there's the 2 games that we covered last week. Okay, we covered King Marco, and we covered Nathan. Now the next game we're going to cover is against ICC member Ferocious Panda. In fact, very talented young FM played crazy opening against me in an earlier banner blitz. Like I went, I don't know, e4, d4, and he played h5. and then I pushed another pawn.
Incoming challenge.
And he managed to win. So I was very happy to see Sailor get a little modicum of revenge here with the Norwegian rat. Let's see what happened. So, e4, g6, d4, knight f6, e5, and now Ferocious Panda, there's a reason his nickname is Ferocious. Bam! g4. Holy cow! Nobody ever plays g4. But
you have new messages.
It has to be dealt with. Well, of course, the knight has to go back to g7, no big mystery there. But now he probably pushes the envelope just a little too far on the positional side, and he plays h4. What would you play for black? This looks pretty good. White's got 4 pawn moves in. But there's a difference between advancing pawns and controlling space and getting, quote, overextended. Sailor did a very nice thing here. He played h5. This strikes back. What is White going to do about the g-pawn? He could take on h5, that's one option, and of course he'd take with the knight, but then he's weakened some squares, noticeably f5. In the game, he pushes by, gaining more space. But now, black switches gears, and that's one thing I've noticed about this Norwegian rat that Magnus has been playing, is it can easily morph into kind of a French defense type structure. It can morph into kind of a regular Pierce, and sometimes it has the flavor of like a Scandinavian defense. So it's a very flexible opening, okay? Yes, and as Nicholas says, if the pawn moves, it weakens the f5 for the knight. He's absolutely right. So, pawn to d5. So this is why I'm saying that instead of playing pawn to d6, black goes into kind of a super Gurganditsi system, which is a kind of a blockade on the light squares type system. So let's see what happens. Bishop to d3. Bishop to g4, just a little probe, and after f3, bishop to f5. So as Nicholas correctly pointed out, that f5 square is very weak because the g and e pawns have run past it. So knight to e2, queen to d7. Okay, knight to g3. So trade those guys, queen takes, and now computer actually liked the idea of playing knight to e6. And Magnus mentions this rerouting of the knight to e6 in one of his videos, his Banner Blitz videos. But Sailor just went for the e6 barricade on the light squares. Well, White continues playing in hyper-aggressive mode. Now, pluses and minuses. If you take that pawn, you do leave him with a backward pawn. However, you got to reckon that you also give his pieces access to the e4 square. In the game, Sailor focused on development, contemplating maybe knight to b4, then taking the pawn, and then planting his knight on d5. Well, don't need to worry about that. Panda exchanges, and after queen takes, plays knight to e4, going for the obvious knight f6 check. Well, bishop to e7, get ready to chop that guy off if he visits. But now a little tactical shot. Knight takes e5, knocks out the head of the white pawn chain. Bad news with the pin. Queen goes back to e2, knight goes back home, but now knight to c3, queen over to a5, pinning the knight, and here White missed a bit of an opportunity. He could have played d5. d5 would have made things a bit more complicated. Probably play something like maybe knight b4 in the game.
Check.
Check. Oh, and now knight f5. This is where d5 would have been the most interesting. Because, of course, on pawn takes, you then have bishop. On d5, though, you could also complicate things with knight to g3. Or you could chill and play a move like knight to d8. Not a happy move. So, but White, for his part, with a shattered pawn structure and a pawn deficit, should have definitely gone for complications with pawn to d5. Instead, castles, and then once black castles queenside, it's pretty much game over. The pawn on d4 is triple attacked. The knight to g3 fork was another possibility, absolutely. And now the game does not last much longer because after king b1, black just collects, trades a pair of rooks, and on queen c4,
check.
check, and it's all falling apart. Now here, knight e4 was the last chance to try and hang on, but instead, the panda played king in the corner, and
Check.
this just leads to bad news.
Check.
Because
Checkmate.
ended the game. So anyway, very aggressive play with g4, and then probably pushing the envelope a little too far with h4, because as Nicholas pointed out, once you play h5, you get rid of his g-pawn, then black has good play on the light squares, and especially the f5 square. Okay, so that's pretty much it. The Norwegian rat, continues to find victims, and now we see why Magnus Carlsen has been playing it for so long. Okay, so I think we can close
Incoming
this guy.
challenge.
And let's see. Someone's been challenging me to 1-0. Let's try to get him to play 3-0. Okay.
Server announcement.
Okay, so the rest of the show, hopefully we get a few games. Oh, Bouderay says, hello from Jacksonville. Excellent. Jacksonville is here in Florida.
You have new messages.
And it says we have new messages, but how do I get my messages? Let's see. Probably if you pull your thing over here. Grandmaster Dave, it's 6 o'clock. They said we can match you, please. Just a 1-minute match. Now, tell Grandmaster Dave we're not really doing 1-minute matches for the moment. After all, I'm pretty old and slow. And being from Texas probably makes me even slower. But I appreciate it. But if you want to do 3-0 or 5-0, feel free.
Game started.
Okay, so we got a game here. I Am Jeopardy. Boy, not starting us off easy today, are they? This system is a real pain. Even Magnus mentioned this is a pain. Knight to a3. Now he's got knight b5, he's got bishop c4, all these different things he can try to do to us. I don't know, is queen check really so bad here? Although then you got to watch out for some bishop takes f7 check later. I don't know.
Check.
I feel like I'm getting in trouble here. We don't have great squares to retreat to, do we? This guy's playing all this like he's played it before. Probably because he has. Obviously, queen c6 was not a healthy idea there. Look, we got to get some guys out. Probably should get castle too. Okay, have we survived the worst, hopefully? Let's see, can we trade this guy? Whew, it's not easy. How are we doing on time? Yeah, that's part of the problem. We use a lot of time to get past all this. Now his king is not totally happy, I would think, at this point. We are contemplating taking his bishop. We're contemplating the a4 pawn. We're almost up on time. And he lets us have the bishop. I'm a little surprised at that. Now, I don't want him playing a5. I imagine he'll go king h2, maybe. So I think we're doing reasonably well here. Any attempt to play b4. Okay, so where is he going with that? Well, something about rooks belong on open files, but maybe not that rook. Maybe this rook. So what is knight to d2 all about? What's that all about? Whew. Not sure that was the best square on c6 for our queen, but that's where we are. I kind of want to go there. See, now I thought there I could play here. And now he doesn't have the natural blockade with bishop e3. Yeah, maybe rook d8 was better. I mean, the a4 pawn didn't really float our boat. I don't see how to break into his position, though, truth be told. Ah, maybe we stumbled onto something. Okay, don't want him getting our bishop if we can help it. Okay, this feels pretty promising. Looks like he's going to go down here and try to get our guys. Just touch his knight for a minute. Now, if he takes the pawn, I was hoping I had bishop to e4. Okay, never easy. Well, that's interesting. He gives me an outside passed pawn there. That's got to be pretty dangerous, I would think. Now we're back to threatening mate again. You know what? Interesting combination. We could have played queen e3, and then bishop c5, queen c5, bc5, and I don't think he could have stopped the b pawn. Holy schmoly, that would have been something. See, now he's stopping us like this, the rat. Okay, but I think that knight's still going to have his work cut out for him, stopping that pawn.
Check.
This is looking like a pretty clean conversion, as Magnus would say.
Incoming challenge.
Ooh, need a little water after that. Good game, dude. That opening is very dangerous for black. Yep. As Magnus says, gotta stay liquid. Ah, Hanesian is back. Okay.
Incoming challenge.
Now we gotta play Hanesian.
Game started.
Now what are we gonna play against him? I guess e4. What else? Okay, knight f3. What kind of Sicilian player is he? He's one of these guys. Okay. Oh, I went 2 squares. I meant to go 1 square. Oh well. We're here. This is what we got. Wimp out, and a misplayed Botvinnik system, if you will. Not sure Oh, I see. He's doing kind of a dark square thing. Okay, I get it. Now that's interesting. He's offering me the possibility. Okay, now I think we got to accept. If we go here, takes, there's usually some garbage tactics. Trying to take a pawn on c4 is usually a risky proposition here. Now he's got a pretty solid structure, I have to say, but you know who's great in these type of positions? The Roman Zinzhinhashvili. Takes. Some kind of kerthunk-a-dunk. Don't really see where it gets us. Oh, I see. Then you got that and that. So takes. What the heck? Give it a whirl. Oh, this is a 3-minute game, dude. Step it up. Step it up. Yeah, Roman was great at these knight to d5 slam dunk-a-thunks. I don't know that it really gives us much or anything at all. Wow. Okay. Could be blood. See, yeah, it makes me calculate everything. Take. Go for it. What's worse going to happen? I'm going to lose my pawns, that's what. Okay, I think maybe bishop b2 is better. I'm not sure. Am I falling into something here? Yeah, a lot of liquidation going on here, I see. Yep, a lot of the pawns coming off the board. Probably going to be a little hard to hold on to all the pawns here. I mean, I guess bishop b6 might have been another way to go, but I had another thought here. Which, that's usually when I'm dangerous to myself. I thought, why not try and attack him? Especially everyone's over there. Oh, what am I, stupid? Yes, I think stupid would be exactly the word here. That means I probably...
Black resigns.
Yeah, sorry, dude. I completely missed it. I guess I could have done that last move. Maybe...
Incoming challenge.
Ooh. Anyway, good game as usual, sir. Okay, Grandmaster Dave Dav. Okay.
Game
Hey,
started.
welcome to the show, and thanks for checking in, and appreciate your patience, sir. Okay, so he sacrifices the e-pawn, but as usual, gets development. Now we've had a few IMs chip in here. Okay, so well, let's go ahead and get developed. Now that's interesting. Okay, so I think one play would be to take that, but another play is to go here, I think. That puts pressure on the c5 bishop. Now he's offering me a chance to just try to hold on to that pawn, or to take on d6. Let's just take on d6, I guess. Although as a rule, anything that trades queens is usually the way to go. Okay, we're going to take this. Sir, you got to take back the piece. You can't just give away a piece. Maybe queen a5 check and then collect it that way. So yeah, I'm behind in development, but you know that is a big piece there. Okay, we got to do something about getting our king side developed and getting castled. Do we have time to go this way? Yeah, why not? So the plan now g6. I'm not clear on g6. That kind of weakens the dark squares. Well, king safety first before you worry about exploiting everything. Then you can always swing over to attack after you secured your king. So yeah, g6 after giving up your dark square bishop does create some square weakness issues. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and take this way. Start mobilizing the rooks. Maybe line up on the dark squares. Do we want to bother stopping that? Why not? Now we can send that guy back home, and little by little start edging forward. Although, where's that guy going? Anyhow, I really want to start going after those dark squares, but let's just mobilize, see what happens. Actually, that was pretty silly. I could have just won on the spot instead of all this doodling around on the queen side. Wow. Yeah, now he stopped bishop h6 check. Okay. Who knows? Sometimes you get a second chance in life. Yeah, so if she moves go instead of rook d1, or c3, or a4, just bishop h6 check, and then queen to d4 or something, and the game would have ended. Yes, Nicholas is right. Of course he's right. Now that's smart because I wanted to, well, let's go ahead and take that, see if we get another chance. Yeah, Nicholas is absolutely right. Bishop h6 check, followed by queen somewhere, yeah. Okay, now he's coughing up a pawn. Okay, just make a pit stop, take that. Oh, geez, I could have taken the queen. Ay, ay, ay. I think what this is telling me is I probably need a quick rinse the face off break after this game. Okay, but this is what I want to do is I want to kick that knight. That's what I've been waiting to do. Ay, ay, ay. He ignores me. Okay, take the knight. Take the knight. Eventually, he's going to run out of guys. Okay, now he's piling on our bishop, but we finally get our bishop takes h6 check in.
Check.
Ah, he's foiling our plan.
Check.
Maybe. Oh, he gives up that guy. Okay.
Check. Check. Server announcement.
We'll get him eventually.
Check.
Now here I actually had an idea. I
Check.
thought I might do this one. Yeah, kind of time to wake up. Okay, then I thought we'd pop in down here.
Check.
Then I thought we'd pop over
Check.
here. So at least I'm trying to finish the game with a little bit of style. And then
Check.
take this one. And I think that's going to be the end of the story. Oh, I see B Thin's popped in.
Check. Incoming challenge.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back, sir.
Incoming challenge.
Okay, thank you for your patience. I had to feed the cat, rinse my face, and get something to wear because it's a little chilly with the AC here. Okay, so Grandmaster Dave, I'm sorry. Thank you for the game, sir. But we're trying to play one person so that we can get to everyone. Okay, but we will be here again next week, and maybe later if we don't have any other challenges. Okay, now I got to step it up. Grandmaster Venom, Mr. Venom 2020 has been super patient. So
Game
we're going to play a
started.
3L game. I think we played before in a Banner Blitz, but I don't remember exactly. But first off, thank you for the game, for being very, very patient. Okay, what kind of Sicilian player is he? One of these guys. Let's try the old Rossalimo, which I know Magnus is not afraid to play against. But he's also played with white and won some very nice games. Totally don't know what the theory is on all this. So I guess we can trust that my opponent probably does. So what to do? He's very active here. Okay, I guess we can play like this. Not sure. Yeah, I like what he's doing here. He's chipping away at my center. I like what he's doing. Now the question is, do we give up the bishop for the knight? Try to play against the hanging pawns? Yeah, why not? Just in the interest of trying to save some time. Not lose Tempe. Tempe, whatever you call it. Whew. But again, he's got the bishop here. Yeah, now that was a smart move on his part. I got to watch out for rook takes e3 motifs, if you will. My knights are feeling a little redundant, but on the other hand, I managed to tell myself that I achieved control of the square. Oof. Take what we can get. I think I should eliminate his knight. Then, let's step up here. Now, Roman likes to get these type of positions from the Scotch game. Or Bishop's game, kind of. Let's hop in there with temp. As Anatoly would say, with temp. Okay, let's try to trade these guys. Okay, now we got to be cognizant of him playing for opposite colored bishops. But opposite colored bishops are double-edged, and in the middle game can be more about initiative. I wonder if I should be playing f4 here. Nah, then he can trade bishop takes knight, and then he would have the monster. Whew. Well, it might be a little bit early, but it does help clamp on the square there. Let's trade these guys. Now, one of the favorite Russian endings is if they can get queen and knight against... Oh, so this is very clever. Now he's threatening to play bishop takes knight and then pawn takes pawn. Oh, and it's a short game. Okay, we got to move. We got to move. Okay.
Time warning. Check.
Got to move. I may have stumbled onto something there.
Check. 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 Black incoming forfeits on time.
Woo! Good game. By the way, right here, just as we were staring at the position, suddenly I notice amazing potential resource. Rookie 2 check. When I take it, then you go Queen E7 check. Then I take, you trade, but then of course I play pawn takes pawn, and I guess you may still lose to that outside passed pawn. Anywho, quick break, guys. Let me get a little more liquid. I may not have as big a rating as Magnus Carlsen, but I can certainly have as big a bottle of water. Okay. Now, by the way, this game, the key was dark squares and outpost versus black's bishop pair. The bishop on f7 never really hit its stride. And yeah, the dilemma for the dark squared bishop is if you use it to fight for control of the c5, as we saw happen in the game, you know, the king position's a bit weak. Anyway, thank you, sir. Really good game. Okay. Skip 'em. Let's play him.
Game started.
But I got to play faster. It's 3-0. No goofing around. Man after my own heart. These kind of Trumpowski type guys. What to do? Think. Trumpowski slash... Well, we know we got to get developed, right? No question there. Okay, I'm not thrilled with what I got going on here. The guy's playing great. Got his system. Okay. He's really doing this quite well, I have to say. Whew. He's playing at Mach speed, doing everything very well. So now, yeah, now part of the reason I put the rook here is so that, but now his queenside pawns, are they well placed or are they a bit vulnerable? Well, got to keep partying on. Let's see if we can get these guys traded. I'm not sure that was so bright, because that just kind of brings his other knight over to the game. I'm not sure that was so bright. Yeah. We may have cause to regret that later. Anywho, well, I guess e5, but I don't like isolated pawns in that scenario, although I guess it's possible. Very hard position to figure out what's going on for who. Okay, but at least now we got the file. Okay, so now... Oh, can we steal? Does it do anything for us? Well, if we take this one, he's got a lot of guys can come. Oh, but we can always... Nope, we can't break that pin. Oh, think, 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 think. I was worried about queen takes on a4 because of bishop d1. He pins me that way, and then I'm not able to play bishop f5 to unpin the other way. Now, the good news is we are a little bit in his business. Whew. On the queen side. Bad news is still feel a little vulnerable. But the good news there is I think tactically that might have been a miscue. A little discovered attack action and go for this guy. So now we're feeling good. And a little check here. And I think we got something going here. A little penetration. His bishop on the dark squares. Thank God he never played pawn to e4, so we got some serious penetration there.
Incoming challenge.
Oh boy. It's not easy. I don't know why I'm so thirsty today, but anyway, Nicholas, thanks. Nicholas, did we play? Nicholas said thank you, but anyway, Crunkselmass Lannister is going to sleep. Okay. Someone said something about rook e5, the only move. Oh, I guess he was talking about last game. Okay. Anyway, some good players. Nicholas Della Colina is a very good young junior down here in Florida. And Krunks Lannister is from Germany. So, staying up in the wee hours of the morning there. Okay, Grandmaster Dave wants another game. Okay, why not?
Game started.
Okay, what did we play last time? I don't remember. I think d4. Oh, a French defense kind of guy. Can't blame him for that. Great opening. Yeah, we played d4 last time and he played e5. Well, this is a delayed e5 gambit, but you lost a tempo there, sir. d5 would have been the normal move going for the French defense. And this gambit just feels quite a bit dubious, I must say. Well, I don't have to say, but it looks very suspicious. I don't know, I guess probably knight c3 was probably theoretically stronger. And see, here the problem is you moved your f-pawn, you weakened your
Check.
key diagonal very, very early in the game. And so that can be very costly.
Checkmate.
Okay.
Incoming challenge.
No, sir. But that game, you got to be very careful about moving your f-pawn very early in the opening, okay? Anyway, thank you so much for the games, and, check in with us again next week. How are we doing on time? It is 7 o'clock. Okay. Okay. I was wondering what happened there, Dave. I mean, okay, one more game, sir. One more 5-minute game since no one else is
Server announcement.
Okay. Send me one more challenge for a 5-minute game, but
Game started.
oh, we got a master here. Okay. And where's he from? Well, who cares? We got to play. Let's do c4. c5. Okay. That guy out. Okay. So we got an English, kind of a symmetrical English, if you will. And then a variation that Magnus Carlsen I saw play puts the knight on h6. There are various interpretations of it. I even saw a master once play bishop takes c3, pawn takes, and then play that kind of hunker down thing. Now it's pretty clear he wants to play there b4. And it gets a little bit sterile. I guess we can do this. But yeah, these positions tend to be a little bit sterile. Now the only difference from a normal symmetrical is that we have our knight here instead of there. Let's go ahead and get castled. The more aggressive interpretation of this type of position would be to play, yeah, he's going to play e3 and d4. Now the question is, what do we do for counterplay? And why could we argue that our knight is better there than over there? Well, for the moment, let's get developed. But we do always have to be cognizant of him going g4 and attacking our guy. Well, now we kind of got exactly what we don't want, which is where we are a tempo behind. Oh, I know. I'm supposed to play here. Maybe. I have to say I'm not thrilled with it all. Where are my pieces supposed to go here? This is not so great. I'm not sure that really helps us. Not sure it hurts us, but not sure it helps. Interesting placement for his queen. Now g4, I can trade and go knight h4 for what it's worth. Ah, I got tricked by my own trick. Yeah. See, I was thinking he couldn't take there because I'd have the pawn fork, but I forgot about him hitting me. Now he can trade, and go there. And everything's falling apart. Bummer. Well, that was decidedly not good. Decidedly not good. Not
server announcement.
turn of events. I thought for sure. I see. He's just going to play it very cleverly. Okay. See, I was thinking if I went knight c4 right away, he was going to play knight d2. Okay, so that's the game. At least I didn't lose the b5 pawn. There were some tricks, but maybe taking the pawn was the right way to roll. He's coming back to challenge my knight. Still behind on time. I guess there might have been an argument for taking the bishop. I'm not sure. Oh. I think I may have had yeah, he's really all over that. Yeah, I may have had an opportunity with f5 earlier that I missed. Anyway, no need to worry about that now. Yeah, why worry about that now when we can commit positional suicide, right? And of course, the rook is probably poorly placed for this venture. Now, the guy's playing very, very solidly, I have to say. Yeah, I didn't like that. No, can't do that. Just lose the pawn. And we're short on time. Very good play on his part. Just seems like he's faster in the rook ending. Oh well.
Check.
I don't know how to offer draw.
Draw offered. Draw offered. Draw offered. Incoming challenge.
Anyway, very good game, sir. Yeah, I think the final position should be a drawn rook ending. Especially after I check and put your king on the back rank. But then, you know, you got a couple of pawns here you can attack. Very
Server
solid play, sir.
announcement.
Okay. Grandmaster Dave, you've already gotten 2 or 3 games in. Yeah, saw a few people. I was wondering if B Thins was going to challenge. Yeah, that was not an easy game. I was definitely moments there where it could have been a little bit worse, for sure. So probably we'll do 2 or 3 more games, and then we'll call it a day. Yeah, one of my coaches, advisors, friends, students, noticed that I tend to get slower after I've been playing a while, and that I should probably do 5-minute games so I have a little time to think. But Dave, if I only play you, where is some of the others? So is Sandro here? Yeah, the opening was very solid, and I like what he did. Every time I'd get a knight to c4, he came around and he challenged, like knight d1. And then he came knight to e3, and then he challenged my best piece. And then when I reinforced it, he made maneuvers, got his bishop out of the way, and then he brought another knight to challenge. And so he just kept stopping me. Now here I played f5. Don't know. But I was wondering if I had a chance earlier, somewhere around here. No, here I can't play it because he's on c4. He's on it too many times. Oh, no, I can play f5 here. But I don't know that it changes things that much, because if he takes, of course, I got the pawn fork. But if I play f5 here, it's not clear that it's all that good for me. For example, knight h4. Then he's all on my g6 pawn, my f5 pawn many times. Not clear it's really all that good for me. It might even be, like, very bad. So, yeah, when I played rook a8, I had some dreams or hopes of playing knight a3, giving him a little fork. But bishop c1 was excellent. It covered the a3 square, and it vacated the d2 square so that he could challenge my knights. That's like playing in the NFL, no fun league. Well, let's try to get in 2 more games. Okay.
Game
We got to give
started.
Grandmaster Dave, Dav, is that Dave? Dav. A lot of credit for persistence. Okay, dare we go with the Norwegian rat? Dare we? I wonder if he saw the lecture. Was he here for the lecture? Okay, now this is very logical what he's doing. The game takes on kind of a Scandinavian, if you will, where a pair of knights have been traded. Certainly not a bad way to play. Okay, well, is he going to go trade queens on us? I don't know. Or is he just getting up there to play c4? But he could have played c4 anyway. Now, not sure I totally understand his queen d3. I would have thought knight f3, bishop d3. Okay, now that is a little premature because I think I can eat this guy. So of course that's a super valuable pawn to have because it knocks out his center. And also now, well, what's better than being one pawn up? Being two pawns up, right? Now it's not just a question of taking the pawn, but it splits his queenside pawns. Okay, this is one of my favorite maneuvers. I like to teach my kiddies, eat and run. But it also puts a quietus on his queenside castling ambition, gives split pawns. Now, one of the things you got to think about is when you're winning, how can you possibly screw up and lose a game? And so, therefore, as soon as possible, we're going to go ahead and get castled. But I just thought I'd secure these pawns, get this bishop out. But I'm telling you, we are going to get castled pretty soon. Now, does the knight go to c6 or does it go to d7? If he starts running with the a pawn, you may want to think about putting it on d7. In fact, I know I said we were going to castle, but I just want to hold that a pawn up. Although I'm not totally sure that... Okay, so now the answer is we're going this way. I'm not sure what bishop d1 is all about. Okay, let's just push that guy before we get castled, but we really are planning to castle just as soon as we get around to it. Now there, he again doesn't have sufficient support. Okay, so now he's... Air Batal 13 says, "Hey Ron." Hey Air Batal, thanks for checking in. Okay, now I think it's safe to castle queenside due to his paucity of rooks. So who is Air Batal 13? Have we met, sir? Okay, bishops. Anyway, thanks for checking in. So I'm missing a few people, like my buddy McKnight, who also has an ICC stream at late hours of the night. And who else? Okay, now we're just going to double rooks on the open file here and see if he knows what we're up to. It's Liam. Oh, one of my school students. Okay, he saw what I was up to. But now we're going to try and kick his bishop off the diagonal. Liam, you can get an ICC membership. Sandro, can you post the link where they can go to get a 1 month free ICC membership? And Liam, you can get an ICC membership and then you can challenge. Okay, now, once we take that light squared bishop, his king should be in the box. Air Batal 13 is Liam. Okay, so let's just pin that rook, and we should have him boxed into a mating net there in the corner. Okay, so Liam, Internet Chess Club. It's https://login chessclub.com/registration, and you can sign up for a free 1 month membership, and then you'll be able to challenge me. Okay, like 3 minute, 5 minute, probably 5 minute game would be good. Okay. Okay, who is playing GG? Okay, so now I think that's checkmate.
Checkmate.
Thank you, Grandmaster
Incoming
Dav.
challenge.
Okay, now, Mr. Dav, you got to be a little more careful about giving away pieces at a few points, okay? So that's what you got to work on, buddy. I am telling you, at the level below 1200, at the 12, oh, Grandmaster Dav, you're too kind. But at the level below 1200, piece takes piece. Bam! That's like 90% of all the games, chess games, at the level below 1200. So what you got to work on is piece takes piece. If we go back through this game, now here you did great here, okay? Knight takes, okay. Queen takes. Now queen d3. There you bring the queen out. I could play bishop f5. You're bringing your queen out. Now I know I got my queen out early, but I'm expecting to have to move it. But you're still
Incoming
okay there.
challenge.
But c4, that was a mistake. So when I play a move, one of the first things you have to ask yourself, what is he doing? What is he up to? What's he threatening? So see here, you made a mistake that allows me to win a lot of games. You are so intent on what you're doing to me, attacking my queen, you didn't stop to think, if I do this, what's he going to do to me? And believe me, not just, at this level, but I win a lot of games because people are so focused on what they're going to do and what their plans are, they don't stop to think about what you're up to. And it used to amaze me when I would do simultaneouses. I'd make a move and, come back and I'm a grandmaster and, they would just like be oblivious to what I was threatening. So good case in point here. When you played c4, you obviously saw you were attacking my queen, but you didn't completely think about, okay, he's going to move his queen. Where is he going to go? And is my pawn protected? So that was the first thing. You gave away the pawn. Okay, now that's not totally terminal. You could still recover from losing a pawn. But now you played bishop d2 and you gave away a second pawn. Okay, so now it's probably decisive proportions. I mean, probably I would beat Magnus Carlsen 10 out of 10 from this position because I have a 2-pawn advantage, although you do have a little development. So it's still not totally terminal because I still got to get my pieces out. But then somewhere along here, after e6, now you did the same thing. You have to count. You popped your knight into e5. I appreciate you trying to attack my bishop. It's unprotected, but you got to count that I got 2 pieces on the square, and you only have 1 protector. So now, once you give this piece away, then it's Ron beating Magnus, Stockfish, all of them, 1,000 out of 1,000, because this is just too big. A 5-point material advantage. That's like a 28-point lead in football, okay? So now, again, you didn't count here. You're giving up a rook worth 5 for a knight worth 3. Okay, so now the material advantage is 7, right? Black has an extra rook and 2 pawns, and white doesn't have anything to really compensate. Okay, so yeah. And then I think there's one more point here where you gave away something. Okay, now this is good. You saw I was threatening rook down check, I guess. You dropped back with the rook. But when I played h5, well, put the rook on a square where I could just, the bishop, where I could just take it. So see, in that one game, in 25 moves, you had about 4 moves where you just didn't count properly or you just simply gave something away. So your very next step for serious improvement is just seeing all piece captures. So on some beginner videos I've watched, they talk about always check checks and look at piece captures, okay? Anyway, Liam, Sandro, how should he challenge? Or actually, Sandro, how should he challenge? Okay, yeah. So there it is. Type, Liam, do you see the chat? Type \match henchess 50 in your console, okay? So \match henchess space 50. But anyway, Grandmaster Dav, thank you very much for playing, and hopefully, there is some instructive value to the games, okay? And look, you're absolutely right. Best is to play the best players you can find. That's what I did when I was a kid. And just play and play and play. And I tell you, I was very lucky growing up that when I found the Houston Chess Club, there was a 2100 player, Larry Engelbretson. I was like 1465, my first rating. And so anyway, he would come from University of Rice, where he was majoring in psychology, and he would open up the chess club about 4:30. I would take the crosstown bus from my high school, and when he opened up the club, nobody else would come until 7 o'clock when the club officially opened, and for 3 hours, I had a 2100 player all to myself. Now, keep in mind, this was in the days before we had computers. We had online playing sites, we had chess programs, chess software, chess videos, and so it was really hard to find competition. And so for 6 months, I'd play the guy, from like 4:30 to 7. After a while, I learned that he liked donuts, so I'd stop by Shipley's Donuts, a local chain there in Houston, grab a donut for him, a brownie for me, and that was basically his fee for playing this young, obnoxious kid for like 3 hours at a time. I'm telling you, at 7:05, the first guy walks into the chess club. He hops up. Hey, Ron, I got to go spend some time with this guy. I'm like, hey, no problem, Larry. I'll see you again tomorrow. Anyway, the guy beat me every single game for 6 months. True story, true story. Every single game. I mean, not even a draw. And of course, he's 2100. I'm like 1465, newbie. But finally, after about 6 months, I'm playing white. He oversteps his boundaries a little, takes a little too much risk. I refute his early attack, gambit play, whatever. Got a crushing position, central domination, overwhelming placement of my pieces, and of course, I'm learning on the job. In walks our mutual friend Steve Moffitt, former Texas state champion. Looks at the position, and then he says to Larry, the kid's getting pretty good, isn't he? And Larry just like, I actually felt bad for Larry because he'd won every single game for 6 months. And then the one game I'm winning, one of his rivals and peers actually walks in to witness it. So, of course, I felt bad for him, but I still crushed him in that game. And then later, eventually, I was able to beat him in a tournament game or two. But Larry was a great guy, and he just spent hours and hours playing me every day. So yeah, the Houston Chess Club had very fond memories. I was very fortunate that I had a place to hang out during those young, formative teen years. And Liam, did you register? Were you able to register for the ICC membership, buddy? Oh, he's doing it on his phone. Okay. But anyway, the point of the story is that before you become really good, you may lose a lot of games. But that's how you learn, okay? As long as you take note and don't lose the same games over and over, and play the best players you can find. Okay, he's doing it on the phone. We're going to hang in for him. Liam's one of my students at my middle school elective class. Very good guy, really working to get better at chess. I'm really lucky. I have some great kids in my classes, both after school and for our middle school elective, which is, by the way, where I always felt chess belonged, is as an elective in school where kids have a choice to take it, along with language, music, art, whatever, piques their interest. Okay, B Thins, are you still there? If you are you up for a game, sir? I just got to remember the long list of openings I have to avoid. Now, a couple of things about our background. You see a picture of my little darling, my Princess Sweetie, Okay, that's the cat with the chessboard. Okay, that's the cat I had to go feed earlier. And on the left, you can see the Foxy openings produced for ICC. McKnight, hey! McKnight, you got time for a game? I could always squeeze in one game for you, buddy, if you got time for a game. Now, by the way, McKnight, could you give us your... let's see. I'm going to cut and paste. Hold on, I'm going to cut and paste what he sent us. He said... Let's see. He said, \match space hen chess and then space 5 space O. Okay. Unrecognized command. Okay, so Liam, it's \match space hen chess space 5 space 0. Okay, look in the chat there. McKnight's tossed it in there for us, okay? And McKnights, while you're there, can you go ahead and post your twitch.tv handle so that people can also check out your stream? Yeah, twitch.tv/McKnights. McKnights is spelled just like MC, and then knights like the chess pieces. Anyway, we had a few new visitors today. Grandmaster Dav, obviously, is going to work on his game. If anyone has questions, you can ask me here or in ICC. I'm under the same name in ICC. So you can always go to McKnight's. He's one of the monitors, I think, on ICC. And he's also got his own Twitch show. Now, Mr. McKnight's, when does your show normally run so that people can kind of know when to expect to be able to see you, including me? I'm not a MOD. You're not a moderator on ICC, but I had the impression you help out. So, Mr. McKnight, what's normally the time for your show? Or is it just whenever you feel up to it in an evening and want to play some chess? Aha, gotcha. I know that feeling. He doesn't have a regular schedule, so you just kind of have to log on and, if you catch him live, you catch him. And you mainly stream when you're at home, and also they can use their ICC membership to play you as well, right? I believe. So he pretty much plays anyone, anywhere, but I've definitely seen him play a few times on ICC, So if you have an ICC membership, he'll certainly, accept your challenge, and you get to play him. So last question, McKnight. Are you up for a game tonight? Air Buttle challenged me. My username is the same one I use on Lead Chess. I prefer to play on ICC, though. Liam, is it Ramius, and is there a number? I got to write this down.
Incoming challenge.
Okay, there's a challenge from McKnight. Okay.
Game started.
Last few times I've had some really tough games with this guy. So of course we whip out the Norwegian rat, for better or for worse. Marco Ramius 13. Okay, so I'll play Mr. McKnights and try to get in a game with Marco. And then we'll call it a evening. Okay, good play here. Should we go ahead and get castled? So yeah, he's playing very, very smart here. Just trying to make trouble for him, keep him off balance. Now there, I feel like I should be okay, but still not easy. Oh, duh. I think I can take this one and... Yeah, the danger in this opening is you always have to worry about losing your e4 pawn. But in this case, a little sneaky there, trap his bishop, but he might have a mass of pawns in the center. However, got to put a little faith in my bishop here. Okay, so we take that guy, knock that guy out. Although, I don't know, was there really such a big rush to take that guy? So this is a little tricky because he's still got that massive center pawns. But, well, look, if I can take another pawn, so he's got, now how many pawns does he have for this piece? But he's got that annoying knight, and he's got a good queen coming to c4. Those pawns could be dangerous. How am I supposed to try and undermine those guys? Let's just do it like this, although that's got its pluses and minuses because he might be able to play e6. Main thing is I got to neutralize those guys. If I can neutralize those guys, then we're in good shape. Even though we got the extra piece, but the knight on f4 and the massive pawns, he's trying to make my life miserable. That's what he's trying to do, as usual. That's what he usually does. Earlier I'd been planning to play queen b6, but then I changed my mind. Now, I got to keep in mind it's a fairly fast time control. But what we're doing here is we're touching that guy. Okay. I'm not sure that's the right rook. Yeah, maybe better to use the other rook. I'm not sure why I left that rook on f8. Okay, let's see if we can do something about that knight. Okay, now I think I got a little bit of what I want. Okay, now I think we're in good shape. We busted up his pawn center. I feel good about that. Now notice he couldn't take with a pawn and maintain the integrity of his pawns because the f4 knight. That was kind of the slippery slope point of the bishop h6 bishop relocation. So now I think the danger is kind of past. Where does this guy go? Yeah, I almost put the bishop on c8, but then rook d5 is annoying, plus he can go over there. Well, is it okay just to trade? Or why don't we take this guy? This feels good. Now, hit him with the check. Now, that's a little awkward because his rook... Oh, I thought he was going to block with the queen, but then I had e3 ready. So
Becoming resigned.
Apart here. Now, this is Grandmaster Dav now. Anyway, good game, McKnights. Tricky opening. You built up very solidly there for a while, but somewhere around pawn to b3. Yeah, somewhere around pawn to b3. Yeah, that was the biggie. That was the biggie, because to be honest, I was thinking to play knight b2 and then take the bishop, and then I realized, I can go the other way, chop and trap. Okay, but anyway, good game, sir. Thanks for checking in. Okay, Airbottle has to go. Says we'll play another time. In fact, I will see you in class mañana, dude. Okay, so anyway, thank everyone for participating. I appreciate it, and we will see you next Thursday. And of course, thank ICC and Sandro, Mr. Sandro, staying up late in Italy just to monitor everything and make sure everything runs smoothly. And everyone else that helped me put the show together. Okay, I will see you next Thursday. And ICC says thanks to everyone. Okay, we are going to end the stream, sign out, get some dinner, and see you next week.